So now let me introduce the moderator for today's program, Dr. Lauren Walsh. Lauren is a professor at New York University, where she's the founding director of the Gallatin Photojournalism Intensive. Walsh is also the author of numerous books, including Conversations on Conflict Photography and Through the Lens, The Pandemic and Black Lives Matter. She's a leading expert on the visual coverage of conflict and crisis, as well as peace journalism. She leads workshops and lectures globally with an emphasis on ethics and photography, as well as safety and mental health concerns for journalists. In Ukraine, she conducted nationwide surveys and workshops around mental health and media workers, and she's currently co-leading the first multinational mental health initiative for Arab world photojournalists. So now let me turn this over to Lauren.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Glenn. Thank you to everyone for joining today for what I hope will be a really impactful conversation. I think I'll just start by kind of setting the tone a little bit, which is to say, as Glenn mentioned, I am a professor. And so I spend time in the classroom every week, each semester, with the privilege actually to think about tough topics, but also to kind of ruminate over them. And it's kind of a longer version of what we do here condensed today. And as someone who focuses very frequently on the coverage of conflicts, sometimes human rights violations, sometimes war crimes, I know that these are very hard topics. I also firmly believe that these are not topics to shy away from. And it's another reason why I'm really grateful to Glenn and to SDN for providing the space to discuss these. And I guess I would also say I don't really know who is in the audience right now, but I think primarily the SDN audience is American based or US based. And so for many of us, we read or see the news, maybe a few of you in printed newspapers or on TV, and more, and particularly with my students, it's on their laptops or mobile phones. So, we're at a distance from what is going on around the world at times. And I think often, what I really advocate for is remembering that the pictures that we see, which sometimes distress us, sometimes outrage us, sometimes hurt us, sometimes leave us shocked or really sad. Those pictures are created by somebody who is standing right there and bearing witness and close to whatever it is that makes us upset. And I think frequently we don't have the opportunity to speak to the people making the pictures, to understand not just where were you pointing your camera lens and what were you hoping for, but also what was going on? What were you thinking? How did it impact you in the moment? How did it impact you afterwards? And so that's kind of what I really hope we can think about today. So yeah, it's like listening and learning from two photographers who have documented very, very powerfully and who have very kindly given us their time today. So, and also a thank you to everyone here who obviously cares about photojournalism and is willing to kind of be on this journey with us, grappling with these tough topics. So, I'm going to give everyone a heads up that because of the nature of the imagery we are looking at, there is distressing and graphic content in the slideshows that the photojournalists will be sharing with us. We're going to hopefully have time for your questions at the end. So the ordering is going to be, I will introduce Vlada from Ukraine. She'll present work and talk about it. Then I will introduce Saher from Gaza. He will share work and talk about it. And as questions occur to you, I believe you can drop them in the chat and we'll try to field as many as possible with the time that we have at the end of the session. So let me start off by introducing our first speaker. I'm going to read the bio. Vlada Liberova is a Ukrainian photographer and co-founder of the Libkos duo, documenting the war in Ukraine through a deeply human lens. Before 2022, she was a photography theorist, studying visual culture, curating, and writing about the power of the image. But everything she knew changed when Russia launched its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. In the spring of 2022, Liberova made a personal decision to put theory into practice. She picked up the camera, stepped into the field, and began documenting the war alongside her husband and creative partner, Konstantin Liberov. Since then, they've traveled together to the most dangerous and defining front lines of this war, and their work has been recognized internationally. So thank you, Vlada, for being here, and I will turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. I'm a little bit nervous, so sorry for that. Thank you for the opportunity to talk here, and I think I'll start. Oh, well, hello everyone. Today is a special day actually for me because today my son is exactly 5 months old, and I still don't fully understand how these two realities can exist at the same time. In one, there is a baby who is learning how to hold a bottle, who smiles when he sees me, and lives in a world that still feels safe and understandable. In the other, there is a war, drones, injuries, and people losing everything within seconds. These realities don't replace each other, they simply exist in parallel, and I keep moving between them. My name is Vlada. I'm Ukrainian documentary photographer, and I work together with my husband. Before 2022, our life looked completely different. Um, Before 2022, we were photographing our love stories, weddings, families, documenting intimacy and beginnings of people's stories. That was our normal environment there we felt comfortable. When the full-scale invasion started, it didn't feel like a strategic decision to change our work. It felt more like we couldn't stay where we were and continue doing the same thing. You see the photo, like this is maybe was the first photo that we did. It was self-portrait of us sitting in the basement of our house while there was an air alert in our city, Odessa, and we were like absolutely do not understanding what to do with our lives. And we made like this photo, and maybe in several days we took our cameras and went to frontline and started documenting. Like was the end of our previous life and the beginning of our new life. Life that we still live because this war didn't end yet, and it changed a lot. Um,
I keep the charger on in my garage. In
um, So we got into a car and drove towards the front line without a clear plan or understanding of what would happen next. The first trips felt strange because you are already inside the war, but you don't yet understand its logic. I remember entering a deoccupied town where half of the buildings were destroyed, burnt, without roofs, and just a few streets away, people were standing in line for coffee. It was difficult to connect these two images into one reality. At the beginning, the word still had some structure that you could particularly understand. I mean, like how we imagine war and how we used to see it. We see like long trenches, we see infantries, all of this stuff. And when war looks like this, it was simpler. I mean, you could understand the logic of war, and you know like where you can go where is safe and place more safe place and where is more dangerous. Now it's absolutely different, and there were front lines, directions, and if you were careful enough, you could walk. But at the same time, personal questions started to appear. Uh, I do not know if it would be interesting for you, but I wanted to make this speech like personal because I'm Ukrainian. I document war in my country, and all this stuff that happened here, it influenced me not just as a photographer, as a journalist, but as a personal, as a woman, of course. I mean, like, um, uh, I'm sorry, 1 second. For example, like one of these important places that was like we had to discuss because everything change is about having a child. I mean, when you see war up close, it stops being abstract and you start asking yourself whether you have the right to bring a child in a country where all of this is happening. It becomes a very concrete and difficult question because you know how quickly everything can change. You witnessed people dying for seconds. You witnessed people living in their safe houses, as just like I do now. You can see like my apartment, it looks like normal, but in Ukraine, we know that anytime, any second, it can change and you can die in your safe apartment. So it was very responsible and was we were very like scared to bring a child into this life, into this country. Was like this decision wasn't easy, but it was conscious. Um, and I think that these changes they began in 2023 when I was wounded near Avdiivka, and after that the sense of risk became very different. I clearly remember that feeling of being safe, but constantly thinking about how close it was. At same point, you start thinking about stopping, but I realized that if I gave myself time, fear would start shaping my decisions. So I returned almost immediately as soon as I was able to walk again. Fear doesn't disappear if you wait, you simply learn to move with it. Um, well, while you are going through these personal experiences, the war itself is changing very quickly. Today it is already very different from 2022. Like what you see here, now it's very, very different. That's how war looks like now. And the main reason is FPV drones. The operator sees everything in real time and the drone becomes almost an extension of their movement. It is fast, precise, and unpredictable, and it changes how the front line feels. You don't think about where the enemy is, you think about where a drone could appear from. So that's how it looks like. Like the most important part of this war in Ukraine now is drones and FPV drones. So uh, it changed a lot. I remember one moment very clearly in 2024 during the battles near Krakow. We were driving with soldiers to evacuate a wounded tank crew member, moving fast without stopping. At some point, I saw something on the road. At first, it looked like a small object that was hard to recognize, but then I understood the shape and shouted. Uh, we managed to stop at the last second, and there was an FPV drone on the road. It was just standing there like a trap, not flying, not attacking, just waiting. We still do not know why it didn't take off or follow us. Maybe something failed. It was the beginning of what soldiers call waiting drones. But the feeling was very clear. We were 1 second away from death. We continued the mission, and the wounded soldier was evacuated, but that moment stayed with me. After experiences like this, the perception of work changes. Logistics becomes unstable. Control disappears, and you don't know when you can enter or leave, or whether the route would remain safe even in half an hour later. Every trip starts to feel like a decision with an open ending. Another visible change was the landscape itself began to transform. Roads, streets, entire sections of cities started to be covered with anti-drone nets.
Vlada, excuse me, can you can you spend some more time on these pictures so that we could see
I
them?
want to find the picture I want to show you, and I'm sorry. Look, this one. This is anti-drone nets. So this is how the roads in Ukraine look like right now. So um, these nets become part of the environment, changing how places look, how you move through them, and even how you frame an image. The water is no longer only something that happens in a landscape, it physically reshapes that landscape into something new. For us, this became another turning point. I realized that either we adapt to this reality or stop documenting it. So we modified one of our cameras into an infrared camera, which allowed us to see and photograph in the dark. That's how it looks like now. Uh, like this one was made by infrared camera. This one was made by infrared camera. So this is photos that made in it eternal darkness without any light. So you can just use your camera, like infrared camera and infrared lighting, which is invisible for a human eye. So it's also like a new chapter for documentary. I mean, this is a kind of brand new picture and brand new vision of something because like infrared camera it sees in different spectra and even the shape of the stuff you recognize it looks like the same but it's a little bit different and it's like something strange in it and now it's almost the only way, for example, to show how infantries live because like if you're lucky enough to get to the trenches, to get to infantries, if you were brave enough and strong enough to manage this hard logistics. I mean, like for example, today, if you want to get to infantry positions in Ukraine, not just you as a journalist, but anyone, like medics who evacuate wounded, uh, anyone, they have to like go by their legs, like no cars, no techniques, like by your own for at least 10 or 15 kilometers because if like less distance then like enemies with their drones will destroy anything. They will destroy any cars, any techniques. So you have to manage a long way with your cameras to get to positions. And even if you're strong enough and lucky enough to get there, you will like be in a small trench, like without no light, without like any possibilities to use the light. So if you want to show something, you have to figure it out how to do it. And like for me and Costa, my husband, we decided like to change one of our cameras to make it infrared. Um, um, So, at the same time, there is a paradox. The war has become more dangerous, but also less visible. You don't see the moment of attack, you don't see the enemy, and often you don't even see the drone. As a photographer, you are constantly facing the question of how to show something that is almost impossible to see and how to cover a threat that has a clear shape. So at same point, you return to the question of why you continue doing this. For me, the answer is simple. If it is not documented, it quickly disappears from attention. The world adapts even to the most difficult things and they become background. But for me, this is not background. And now when I have a son, this has become even more personal. I want him one day to be able to look at these images, understand what was really happening, What changes? But the need to witness remains, and as long as it exists, we will continue to do this work. And now, if I can show you like more photos to and explain what is going on here. For example, this is the road to in Konstantinovka city several months ago, maybe half a year ago. So what you can see destroyed cars all over the road. This is like what we call in Ukraine death roads, which means that all of these cars were destroyed not by artillery, not by military jets. These were like small drones, FPV drones, and like this is the most dangerous thing you can see. And yes, when you see it, you understand that there were drivers in these cars, and like we do not know their their destinies. I don't know what happened with them because like I was in this car driving like with a very huge speed, praying that our car won't be next in this line of destroyed and burned cars. So also, like drones can be used in different ways. Like for example, this is the testing of a brand new Ukrainian weapon, like this thing that you see, like this flying rocket. Now they use it in infantry positions to destroy like flying, for example, helicopters or jets. And this is made in a reason that infantries don't have to get from the trenches because it's very dangerous. So now they put like these robots that can find out that something is going on direction to the trenches, and it can like shoot it automatically. This is also a drone, but the one that does not fly, but it's like a driving car. On this photo, you see Ukrainian soldiers putting like TNT or something on it, and then they will drive it like you know, like when I was a child, we had these cars with you know, like you could drive it. So this is like the same thing, but it holds on it TNT to enemies, to Russians' positions. This is also this is actually Russian drone filmed by Ukrainian drone that flight above the Russian drone. One more thing then you can see, and it's interesting right now that because there's no logistics, because it's extremely dangerous to get to infantry positions, there's a question how do they get weapons, how do they get food, how do they get water, also by drones. So you can see that like Ukrainian soldier, he puts a bottle of water, he handles it to these drones, and then he will drive it in about 15 kilometers to positions of Ukrainian infantries. So this is the only way to support them. Like I think you, maybe some of you heard the news that now like things are so bad that infantries can stay at infantry positions not just for weeks without changing, for months. For example, like there was soldiers from 93rd Infantry Mechanized Brigade that stayed for half a year in infantry positions. They could they like there was no possibilities to change them to with other people. They like took water and food from drones, and also medicaments, because some of them got injured, and there's also no possibilities to took wounded ones from positions to the safe place. So actually, that's how uh, like this is bottle of water was driving there, like the Grinky. It's 2024, I suppose. So now, unfortunately, now there are no Ukrainian soldiers anymore. But then, in these small houses, in these small destroyed houses, almost in all of them were basements, and almost in all of these basements were Ukrainian soldiers, and their comrades supported them by drones. One more important thing is that now there are lots of drones that are controlled by fiber optics. So, like you can see on this photo, like these nets, like not nets and like this white thing, yeah, these lines. This is the fiber optic, which is extremely dangerous because when we talk about ordinary FPV drones, it is possible to destroy it um, with a radio electronic they are controlled by signals. So if you stop the signal to come, the drone will fall down. But when we talk about fiber optic FPV drones, it's impossible because like there's a physical line that connects the operator and the drone, and like until you shoot the drone, there's no possibility that it will fall down. There it is. One more thing we have to talk. I already thought that now things change a lot, so it became very difficult, yeah, to get anywhere, to show something, but we still continue to do it. And as we work with militaries, we not support, we follow them on positions, we work with them. So this is some ways that like make not just Ukrainian soldiers but journalists that follow them a little bit safer. For example, like I already told about the anti-drone nets. Now all the cars and all the vehicles, all the techniques that moves about 15-20 kilometers from the kill zone, from the front line, look like that. So they put a lot of stuff over the cars to stop these drones, or to make the damage that they can do to a vehicle less. Or, for example, at least to protect the driver or the ones who will be in this car when the drone attacks them. So the same things with tanks, you see, like they put all this stuff over it. But the main thing that like works now is a guy with a gun, actually. So any car that moves now, like there will be a guy sitting there looking at the sky and putting like the gun to have a chance to stop a drone that flies forward here. So that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Vlada. I have like one or two follow-up questions for you. What I really appreciate is, first of all, this tutorial that you've given us in modern warfare. And I was reading an article recently that said, in the past few months, 80% of combat casualties in Ukraine are from unmanned systems, which very much speaks to what you're talking about here. And also that March of this year, the number I saw, which came from Politico, that Ukraine shot down 33,000 drones in 1 month. So, I mean, one of the things that I wanted to ask you, I think you're in Kyiv right now. When I was in Kyiv, for anyone who has not been there, I cannot overstate how many drones are coming all the time. And in my experience, it was very frequently at night, seemingly purposefully to disrupt people's sleep, to make you tired, to make you
Yeah.
exhausted, terrorized. So, like I slept terribly when I was there. Do you just get used to it at a certain point? Or do you now, as a mother, does it have a heightened awareness for you? How do you think through these constant drone attacks?
Well, if we talk about sleep, then a baby child is more, problematic for your sleep than Russian drones, actually. Maybe for me, because I used to Russian drones, actually. So in in Kiev, in cities like that, like there's an air alert, and we know what to do. So we have a lot of. Um, for example, we have Telegram publics that talk that there are drones flying into the city, even to the particular regions of the city. So like, for example, there's a right bank of Dnipro in Kiev, yeah, and left bank of Dnipro. So you can read that the drone flying to the left bank, and I live on the right bank, so I don't. It's okay. I can sleep. I can sleep again. So it's very actually sad. I mean that it's absolutely abnormal that we that we can sleep here, because our psych our like all this like mental stuff like get absolutely adopted to it. And that's why sometimes you become a little bit less uh, careful. A lot of people in Kiev, in Ukraine, stop to go to basements when they hear airlets, because like they think that maybe nothing will happen, or maybe that this is not as dangerous air alert as it was before. But every time something happens, and almost every time people die, so it's very bad thing that we start to ignore it. Um, But yes, almost every day and every night. For example, yesterday, not even at night, like it was about 2 a.m. Two drones. One of them just uh, went into a residential building. Luckily, it wasn't like finished yet, so no one died, but there's video and a lot of stuff that witnesses like this drone flying just into the building. So yeah.
Thank you. And another thing that I really appreciated that you shared for us is I think it's easy for those of us not in a war zone, and even you yourself said this is a little strange to put these two things together, that there's the world of war and there's the world of a smiley, happy baby, and the two things can coexist in the same space. And I'm just thank you for kind of talking us through both what you've done, why you do it, the physical risks, and also the psychological risks. I'm going to introduce our second speaker, but again, to the audience, we will have some time for questions for both speakers at the end. So let me read the next bio. Saher Alghorra, born in Gaza City, attended the University of Palestine, graduating with a degree in public relations, media, and photography. He began work as a freelance photojournalist in 2021 with many international agencies and has worked with international outlets such as The Guardian, Time, Telegraph, and the New York Times. He's been awarded numerous honors, including the ICRC Humanitarian Visa d'Or Award, and just recently won first place in National International News Picture Story with Pictures of the Year International. So thank you, Saher, for being here. I'm also going to introduce one other special person we have with us today. Huda Osman is an investigative journalist based in New York. She's an executive editor at Arab Reporters for Investigative Journalism and investigations editor at Lighthouse Reports. She has worked with Frontline, PBS, France 24, the investigative units of ABC, CBS News, and the Associated Press, and she co-founded the Arab and Middle Eastern Journalist Association and served as its president until 2025. Huda has kindly offered her time today and will be acting as a translator, so thank you, Huda, and welcome, Saher. I'm going to be sharing my screen with Saher's images, and he'll be providing a voiceover. Okay, so I will let Huda, I'll let you ask Saher how he wants to begin, and then he can talk and you'll translate for us.
Okay, sounds good. ساهر تحب تبدأ بالصور ولا تحب الأول بتبدأ بمقدمة تقول شيء؟
نبلش في الصور هدى تمام.
Okay. Saher would like to start with the pictures, please.
Perfect. I think I have to share again. Okay. I can go one by one, or I can move at a faster pace, however Saher would like.
ساهر هتعمل واحدة بواحدة وتتكلم على كل واحدة ولا عاوزها تمشي أسرع لورين؟
ثواني أنا قلت ممكن نحكي كمقدمة بسيطة عن تغطيتي للحرب تمام، وبعد هيك نبلش في عرض الصور مع شرح بسيط على كل صورة إيش تفاصيلها وإيش أكثر الصور اللي كان لها تأثير بالنسبة علي أنا كمصور يعني. تمام.
تمام. I would like to start with a general introduction about my experience during the war, followed by going over each picture, and I will be presenting the pictures that had the most impact on me as a photographer.
طيب بالبداية شكرا لورين، وشكرا لإعطائنا هاي الفرصة إنه نتكلم أكثر في تفاصيل إحنا بنعيشها ممكن محدش بيعرفها، بس إحنا ممكن نحكي فيها من خلال الجلسات اللي زي هيك. وقبل ما أنسى شكرا لفلادة على مشروع القوي اللي قدمته، وبشكرها لشجاعتها كثير، يعني عن جد شغل كثير قوي. هدى حترجمي أول بأول ولا؟
أترجم، خليني أترجم. To start, I would like to thank Lauren and to thank you for this opportunity to talk about details that we experience and we live, but that people might not know about. And I would like to thank Vlada for her presentation and for her strong work and courage.
طيب بالبداية أنا ساهر الغرة، عمري 29 عام، بعمل في تصوير صحفي. بدأت العمل مع الوكالات الدولية من عام 2021. خلينا أحكي في هاي الحرب غطيت عدة تصعيدات أو حروب بشكل مصغر لهي الحرب، بس هاي الحرب من بداية 7 أكتوبر 2023 وأنا على رأس عملي من بداية هذا اليوم الساعة 7 صباحا تقريبا صحيت على صوت إطلاق الصواريخ. فأنا يعني بالعادة راح لذهني إنه ممكن تكون صواريخ تجريبية زي ما إحنا كنا نتعود زمان، بس طلعت على الشباك، أنا ساكن في دور عالي، لقيت صواريخ من كل مكان بتطلع. فبشكل طبيعي أخذت كل معداتي، لابتوبي، كاميراتي، توجهت ل مستشفى الشفاء. هي منطقة، يعني منطقة إحنا دائما وجودنا بيكون بالقرب من المستشفيات أساس يكون في إنترنت وكهرباء نقدر نبعت شغلنا. فبلشت شغل من هذا اليوم، كانت يعني أشبه بحلم يعني أو كابوس، خليني أحكي بالأحرى. ما حدش فينا مستوعب إيش بصير، لدرجة إنه إحنا مش عارفين وين نقف أو وين نتحرك أو شو نتغطي. طبيعة الاستهدافات اللي صارت بعد هيك كانت كتير صعبة ومتسارعة، يعني ما لحقنا إنه نصور كل إشي أو نغطي كل إشي بسبب تسارع الأحداث. بعد مكوثنا تقريبا 5 أيام أو 6 أيام في تغطية الحرب من مدينة غزة، آه، صدر قرار الإخلاء من قبل الجيش الإسرائيلي إنه نطلع على الجنوب في تاريخ 13/10/2023. في هذا التاريخ خذت قرار إنه أنا بدي أشوف عائلتي وأنقلهم لمكان آمن، فطلعنا في هذا التاريخ 13/10 لجنوب قطاع غزة مدينة خان يونس. أمنت عائلتي في مكان منيح، واستأنفت عملي، توجهت لمستشفى ناصر في خان يونس وكملت شغلي بشكل طبيعي. نزحت عشان تفاصيل كثير وأنا ما أطيل في الكلام، نزحت تقريبا 6 مرات ما بين محافظات متعددة من خان يونس لرفح لدير البلح. في الهدنة اللي صارت في شهر 1 2025 رجعنا على مدينة غزة، لقيت صعقت من المنظر اللي شفته. بيتنا تدمر طبعا لما رجعنا على مدينة غزة، بيتنا في مدينة غزة تدمر. كانت الأوضاع جدا صعبة. استمرينا في التغطية بعد رجوعنا
Excuse me, Hoda, can we break this up into segments?
Yes, sure. It's better for me too. ساهر هترجم وبعدين نرجع تاني وممكن نعملهم أقصر كده. Okay. To start, my name is Saher Alghorra. I am 29 years old. I'm a photojournalist. I've been working with international organizations since 2021. I covered several wars, but since October 7th, since 7 a.m. on October 7th, I have been working since that day. I woke up to the sounds of the rockets. I wasn't sure what was going on. I live on a high floor, so I went up to see and I saw all the rockets, and I took all my tools, my laptop and my camera, and I went to Al Shifa Hospital. Usually we work by the hospitals. It's also easier from there to have electricity and to have power and to upload our material. I started since that day. It was like a nightmare. We weren't able to cover everything because things were happening so fast and the attacks were coming so fast. After about 5 to 6 days of the war, on the 13th of October, evacuation orders were issued by the Israeli military, and I took the decision to leave Gaza City in the north and to take my family somewhere that was safer. I secured them in Khan Yunis, and I went to Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis to cover from there. I was displaced since then 6 times. There are a lot of details that I will not go into all of them. And then during the ceasefire of January 2025, I returned to Gaza City, to my home, and I was shocked to see that my place was completely destroyed.
خلال عملنا، يعني اشتغلنا في ظروف جدا صعبة. واجهنا تحديات كبيرة. يعني بعد ما ازداد عدد استهداف الصحفيين، الواحد فينا صار انه في دائما قلق وخوف داخلي من كل مكان نتوجه له. صرنا نشتغل بعدم راحة، يعني كنا نطلع للأحداث نغطيها وإحنا يعني مش ضامنين حالنا نرجع، وكأنه رايحين للمهمة هاي متوقعين تكون هاي المهمة الأخيرة. اشتغلنا من داخل الخيام
ساهر، خليني
يعني.
أترجم دي وبعدين خليني أترجم الجزء ده وبعدين نكمل. During my work, it was very difficult and there were lots of challenges, especially as the number of journalists that were being targeted increased. And we were constantly worried, constantly scared. Every time we would go out to cover, we would worry that we would not come back.
تمام. اشتغلنا من داخل الخيام. تحركنا بين المحافظات مشي بسبب صعوبة المواصلات. كانت لكل صورة في هذا المشروع كان في تفاصيل كتير. يعني الصورة هاي اللي حاليا موجودة قدامنا ل... كانت لاستهداف استراحة الباقة على شاطئ بحر غزة. فكان في كم كبير من الشهداء، ويومها فقدنا زميل إلنا كان موجود في هاي الاستراحة. ترجمة هدى؟
آه We worked from inside tents, living in tents. We moved on foot in between the different cities because it was very difficult to find transportation. And every picture in this project, there are lots of details. This picture was of the targeting of Al-Baqa restaurant, Al-Baqa rest area by the sea. A lot of people were killed in this attack, including a colleague, a journalist.
Next, لورين. في هاي الصورة يعني كانت في بداية اشتداد العملية العسكرية الثانية في مدينة غزة اللي في شهر 9 2025. كانوا بيتبعوا سياسة قصف الأبراج والمباني العالية، طبعا بعد تهديدها مسبقا. تقريبا هذه الصورة يمكن كانت آخر صورة بصورها في مدينة غزة قبل نزوحي لدير البلح بعد صدور قرار الإخلاء للجنوب مرة ثانية في عام 2025.
This picture was in the beginning of the second round of attacks, of intensive attacks on Gaza City in 2025. At the time, the targeting was of high-rise buildings in Gaza City, and this was right before another evacuation order was issued, and I left Gaza City for the second time to Deir al-Balah.
تمام. هاي تقريبا كانت من اصعب التغطيات اللي قمت فيها، اللي كانت تتعلق في موضوع المجاعه. كانت فتره جدا صعبه. كانت هاي الصوره في جنوب مدينه خان يونس، ما بين خان يونس ورفح. كان زي ما انتم شايفين هجوم الفلسطينيين على شاحنات المساعدات بطريقه عشوائيه، لانه كانت الحاجه تدفعهم انه يخاطروا في حياتهم ويصلوا لمناطق زي هاي من عشان ياخذوا المستلزمات اللي تسد احتياجهم هم وعائلاتهم. طبعا خلال الصورة هاي يعني الأشخاص اللي بيذهبوا لهذا المكان كان كثير منهم وإحنا برضو معرضين للخطر، لأنه هذا المكان كان منطقة حدودية، كانت في منطقة موراج إحنا بنحكي عنها، أو محور موراج. كان الجيش الإسرائيلي قريب من هذا المكان، وكل الاشخاص اللي بتوجهوا لهناك معرضين لاطلاق نار بشكل او باخر في من اجل الحصول على مستلزمات العيش.
This was one of the most difficult periods that I had to cover, a period of starvation. And this picture was taken in south of Khan Yunis. Palestinians were storming those aid trucks because of their need, because they were starving and for them and for their families. And a lot of people who went to this area, Al-Muraj area, the army was very close. So it was extremely dangerous for them and for us to be close to this area to get the aid.
تمام. معلش هحكي شوي عن هاي الصورة، كان لها تفاصيل كثير صعبة. يزن أبو فول عمره عامين. كنت في هذا اليوم أنا، كانت هذه الصورة في ذروة المجاعة في شهر 7 2025. كنت رايح أصور تقرير بتعلق في نقص الغذاء في قطاع غزة. يومها أنا كنت رايح لأغطي توزيع وجبات طعام مجانية في أحد المطابخ الخيرية. كنا إحنا كصحفيين، أو خلينا نحكي علي أنا بشكل شخصي، كنا متأثرين من نقص الغذاء، لأنه حتى اللي معاه فلوس واللي معهوش فلوس ما بيقدر يشتري شيء لأنه فيش شيء في السوق. فالتقينا في هذه الحالة صدفة أنا واثنين زملاء، فقررت إني أخذ الصورة البورتريت هاي له، لأنه تفاصيل الطفل وعدم اللامبالاة اللي هو فيه، إنه ما فيش استجابة منه. يعني طبيعة الأطفال بيستجيبوا للكاميرا أو بيعطوا معنا، بس كان الهزلان الشديد في جسمه كثير واضح. فقررت اني اخذ صوره البورتريت هذه، وفي نفس اللحظه اللي صورت فيها هاي الصوره انا كنت وانا وباقي الزملاء بنعاني من نقص الغذاء. تمام.
I will talk a little bit about this picture. Yazan Abu Ful 2 years old. This was taken at the height of the famine in October of 2025. I was filming something about the lack of food, the lack of aid, and I was taking photos and met with 2 other journalists, and all of us, and I'll speak for myself personally, I was affected by the lack of food. Even people who had money couldn't buy food because there was nothing in the markets. So I decided to take this picture, and the child was not responding to the camera. Usually children, when they see the camera, they respond to it. And I myself, while taking this picture, was suffering from the lack of.
وده بس للتعديل، كانت الصورة في شهر 7 2025. تمام.
It was in July 2025.
هذه الصورة ما بين وقف إطلاق النار الأول في اللي صار بعد رجعتنا لشمال قطاع غزة في المرة الأولى. كانت في شهر رمضان، العائلة بتفطر في بيتها المدمر في مدينة بيت لاهية، عائلة الشافعي في مدينة بيت لاهية. كانت بشهر 3 2025، تقريبا قبل استئناف الحرب مرة ثانية بكم يوم. كان مشهد، يعني كنت أنا أول، يعني من المرات الأولى اللي بدخل فيها مناطق أقصى شمال قطاع غزة، وصعقت في مشهد الدمار اللي شفته، ما فيش ولا بيت واقف. فلفتني منظر العيلة وهي قاعدة بتفطر في كل الدمار الموجود، كنوع من كنوع من حب الحياة والاستمرار في ممارسة حياتهم رغم الظروف الصعبة اللي بيعيشوها.
This was taken during the ceasefire in 2025 after returning to Gaza City for the first time. It was Ramadan and this family was breaking fast. They were doing the iftar. It was taken in March of 2025, right before the resumption of the war. This had been the first time that I had entered areas that were in the very north of Gaza, and I was shocked by the level of destruction. But this family, it drew my attention because of the love of life, or the love of continuing ways that they were trying to find to continue living and to continue their life.
برضو في هاي الصورة كانت المجاعة يعني في ذرواتها. كانت يعني شهر 9 2025. هذه الصورة بعد نزوحي من مدينة غزة. توجهت لتصوير الحياة اليومية في جنوب قطاع غزة، مدينة خان يونس. لفتني كمية الناس اللي بتتجمع عند المطابخ الخيرية، وفي جزء كبير منها ما بيجي الدور. يعني بكونوا، معلش، يعني بكون في ناس كثير من النازحين في الجنوب اعتمادهم الكلي بيكون على المطابخ الخيرية، لأنه ظروفهم تسمحش أو ظروفهم بتكون صعبة. فلفتني إنه بلاقي أولاد كثير بروحوا إنه الأوعية معهم فاضية، ما بيجيهم دور، بكون خلصت الكمية. فكان هذا الإشي مؤثر. يعني تلاقي طفل مروح أو هو المعيل لأسرته، بكون أبوه ميت أو مستشهد، أو هو الموجود الوحيد اللي بتحمل مسؤولية العيلة. عشان هيك بتلاقي التدافع في الصورة، إنه الكل بده بس يأمن حاله، إنه أنا بدي أكسب، إنه أنا أروح بوعاء من الرز أو من الطعام المطبوخ. ف بس
This was also during the famine, at the height of the famine. It was in September 2025, after I was displaced for the second time from Gaza City. I started filming everyday life in Khan Yunis. So many people would gather by these kitchens that were giving out food. Many people depended completely on getting food from these kitchens, and many kids returned after going there without getting anything, with their empty pots. Some of them would be supporting their families. The father may have been killed, and it was very impactful to see them return without being able to get any food.
تمام. هاي الصورة كانت يعني زي بمثابة مرحلة استشفاء للأطفال. يعني أنت شايفة كل الأطفال هدول اللي قاعدين، كل واحد فيهم بشيل مسؤولية أو شال مسؤولية في خلال هذا الحرب أكبر منه. يعني بتلاقيه الصبح بيطلع بياخد أوعية المية بده يعبيها، بده يقف دور، أو بده يقف دور على طابور التكية أو وجبات الطعام المجاني. فكان المبادرة هاي اللي هي السينما، انه يعرضوا لهم سينما داخل المخيم. في انا شفت ردات فعل على وجوه الاطفال اللي كانت هي اصلا يمكن اول مرة يشوفوا في حياتهم، اللي هو اصلا المفروض يكون هذا إشي طبيعي. ادركت انه قديش هم شالوا مسؤوليات كبيره لدرجه انه نسيوا حقهم في الحياه، كيف بعيشوا. هم اصلا نسيوا كيف بعيشوا. فبس انه هذه الصوره كانت كنوع من انه مرحله استشفاء بعد كل المسؤوليه اللي شالوها الاطفال. بعد ما يخلصوا هاي السينما وهاي الجلسه، بتلاقيهم بيرجعوا بيكملوا مسؤولياتهم. اللي بده يطلع يعبي ميه، اللي بده يطلع يرجع على بسطته الصغيره اللي فتحها في الشارع عشان يجيب فلوس انه يقدروا يعيشوا. فكل طفل في هاي الصورة هو مثابة رب أسرة حامل مسؤولية.
This picture was like a healing moment for children in Gaza. Each one of these children carried responsibilities that are much bigger than they should be carrying. They would have the responsibility of finding water or going to get the food. So this initiative, this cinema in this camp, I saw their facial expressions and the feedback that they had. It made me realize how they had forgotten their right to live. After they finished this cinema, they would go back to their responsibilities, to finding the water, to selling something so that they can support the family.
هاي الصورة يعني كانت ضمن تنفيذ بنود اتفاق وقف إطلاق النار اللي صار بين حماس وإسرائيل. كان يتم تسليم جثث رهائن إسرائيليين، في المقابل كانوا يفرجوا عن جثث لأسرى فلسطينية كانوا محجوزين عند الجانب الإسرائيلي. فكانوا يجيبوهم. هذه المقبرة كانت تسمى بمقبرة الأرقام، لأنه كل الشهداء اللي بندفنوا فيها هم أصلا مجهولين الهوية، ما تم التعرف عليهم من جانب أهلهم، فبتم دفنهم بطريقة جماعية في مقبرة الأرقام. فلفتني غير صعوبة المشهد والقبور الجماعية المفتوحة. يعني اتذكر الصورة اللي قبل والصورة هاي، الصورة اللي قبل نفسهم الأطفال هدول أو شيء مشابه لهم كانوا بيحضروا سينما، اليوم هم هدول قاعدين بيشوفوا المشهد اللي قدامك. فهذا على المدى البعيد كثير بسبب التروما للأطفال في حياتهم، في الحياة اللي بيعيشوها في المستقبل الجاي. يعني هيكون صعب كثير عليهم.
This picture was part of the ceasefire agreement that there would be an exchange. So the hostages' bodies would be given to Israel. Israel would, in exchange, give bodies of Palestinians that they had, but they came without identification, which means that this graveyard, we used to call it the graveyard of numbers because they were numbered, and the families couldn't identify the bodies. We don't know who was buried. They were buried in groups. But if you think of this picture, you look at the children here and you think of the picture before, it's the same children who were watching the cinema. They're now watching this, and this for sure causes trauma for the children, and it affects how they will be also in the future.
هاي كانت برضه من ضمن مراحل تنفيذ اتفاق وقف إطلاق النار لعناصر تابعة لحماس. خلال خروجهم من فتحة نفق في شمال مدينة خان يونس، استمر البحث في يعني أنا لما أخذت هاي الصورة كنت بروح على عدة أيام على نفس المكان. كانوا استعانوا حتى أيامها بالمعدات المصرية اللي هي الجرافات الثقيلة على أساس يقدروا يفحروا يوصلوا للنفق تحت الأرض. فاستمر معهم الشغل هذا عدة أيام. في يوم أنا جاني اتصال إنه حيسلموا اليوم، أو ممكن يعثروا على جثة داخل نفق اللي هو في مدينة حمد شمال مدينة خان يونس. فتوجهت مباشرة من مدينة غزة لشمال خان يونس. انتظرت عدة ساعات بجوار هذا المكان. بعد هيك صرنا نفهم من بعض إشاراتهم لبعض إنه حيتم التسليم اليوم. فأنا عرفت إنه حيطلعوا جثة من جوا هذا النفق. كانت هي الصورة. بعد هيك تم تسليمها للصليب الأحمر في منطقة إحنا منعونا نروح عليها. برضو يعني كانت من ضمن اتفاق تسليم الجثث، ومقابلهم الإفراج عن جثث الفلسطينيين مجهولة طبعا كانت.
This was also part of the implementation of the ceasefire. Members of Hamas coming out of a tunnel over several days. I would go over several days because we knew that this might happen, and they used equipment. They used Egyptian equipments to dig to get to the tunnel. One day I got a call that this could be happening in Hamad in Khan Yunis. So I came from Gaza City to Hamad in Khan Yunis, Hamad City in Khan Yunis, and waited for several hours. And then the body was given to the Red Cross, but we were not allowed to go to that area further. And of course, in exchange, also Palestinian bodies were returned to the other side.
تمام. برضو هاي الصورة كانت في فترة المجاعة، أثناء توجه الفلسطينيين لأقصى شمال قطاع غزة، لبوابة زكيم اللي كان يمر من خلالها شاحنات المساعدات. كثير ناس فقدت حياتها في هذا المكان، كثير كثير. وفي ناس يمكن لليوم جثثها ظلت غاد وما حد قدر يطولها. يعني المكان كان كثير خطير. في هذه الصورة بالتحديد أنا كنت برضو بشتغل تقرير عن نقص الغذاء في قطاع غزة أو المجاعة في قطاع غزة. يعني كان المشهد كثير صعب. يعني آلاف الفلسطينيين كانوا بتدافعوا باتجاه بوابة زكيم اللي هي اللي بيدخل منها المساعدات. كان يصير اطلاق نار. احنا احيانا كنا نسمع صوت اطلاق وهي بتصفر. يعني كنا احنا معرضين للاصابه في هذاك الوقت. كنا ناخذ ساتر او نحتمي في خلف كومة ركام. كان في هناك مسجد مدمر، كنا نحتمي وراه. فانا كنت واقف ورا هذا المسجد وقاعد بطلع وبقرا المشهد، بحاول انه وين بدي اقف، وين بدي اسنتر حالي اني اصور او شيء. فبعد هيك صارت لي شحون تيجي، طلعت اصور. فالشاب هذا اللي ماسك الكيس على كتفه وقاعد بيأشر على المصاب، هو اللي زعق عليه، قال لي يا صحفي او يا صحافه تعالوا شوفوا، تعالوا صوروا ايش قاعد بيصير من هالكلام. امه للشاب اللي موجود على هذا الشحن كانت بتصرخ اثناء يعني ذهابهم للحصول على المساعدات. تعرض لطلق ناري اعتقد في صدره كان، وتم نقله على الشحن نفسه اللي بنقلوا عليه المساعدات. اعتقد تم نقله على مستشفى حمد اللي قريب من المكان اللي كنا موجودين فيه. بس فالمشهد هذا كان كل يوم يصير بطريقة أبشع من هيك. زي ما حكيت في بداية الكلام إنه كثير ناس فقدت حياتها بتروح تجيب كيس طحين. خصوصا في هذاك الوقت كان كيس طحين بيصل ثمنه ل $1000 وأكثر من $1000، فمش الكل بيقدر يشتريه. فكانت الناس تخاطر في حياتها وتروح تحاول تحصل عليه بطريقة من الشاحنات اللي بتمرق. بس في المقابل كانوا يدفعوا روحهم وحياتهم مقابل الحصول على هذا الكيس.
This was during the famine, as well as the Palestinians were going to the very north to get food from the aid trucks. A lot of people were killed. This picture was when I was working on the famine story in Gaza. It was very difficult. Thousands of Palestinians were going towards this area. and they were being shot. We would hear the shots coming, and we would use this mosque for protection. I was standing behind the mosque and studying where I can take the picture from. And the guy who's seen in the picture carrying the bag told me, "Come here, journalist, you have to come here and see." And the mother of the person who is seen on the truck was screaming. I think he got shot in the chest, and he was transferred to Hamad Hospital using the same truck that had brought the aid. This happened every day. A lot of people lost their lives to get a bag of flour. At the time, a bag of flour cost almost $1,000, and a lot of people couldn't afford that, but paid for it with their own life.
And I think this next photo is our final one, and people will recognize it because it was also the photo used to announce this event today.
كانت هذه لعودة الناس لعودة الفلسطينيين على قطاع غزة، على شمال قطاع غزة بعد اتفاق وقف إطلاق النار في 10/10/2025. يعني بس يعني ما كانش في تفاصيل كتير في هاي الصورة، غير إنه الناس كانت يعني أنا شفت الناس كانت تجري جراي، ما كانتش تستنى تاخذ سيارة. شفت ناس حاملة فراش على كتفها، وكانت النسبة الأكبر من هدول الناس رايحين، يعني سابوا عائلاتهم في الجنوب وراحوا يطمنوا شو صار في بيوتهم اللي تركوها في الشمال. هذا الإشي كان موجود. طريقة تدافع الناس بحكي لك يعني مسافة مش قليلة، بتحكي أكثر من 8-9 كيلو. مشوها مشوا على الأقدام، إنه يصلوا يتفقدوا بمنازلهم ويتفقدوا بيوتهم بعد انسحاب قوات الجيش الإسرائيلي بعد حدوث وقف إطلاق النار الثاني. وبعد هيك أنا بعد هاي الصورة توجهت لمدينة غزة. بعد ما صورت هاي الصورة برضو أنا وصلت لأماكن ما كنتش متوقع إنه أشوفها هيك، يعني أماكن كانت في عمق مدينة غزة، منها منطقتنا اللي هي أنا اللي بسكن فيها، منطقة تل الهوى، كانت كتير مدمرة. شفنا الروبوتات المتفجرة اللي كانت تنحط بين البيوت. آه، كانت عبارة عن بودرة، يعني بتحكي عن الأرض كانت زي البودرة، يعني إشي مطحون طحن. في شوارع كانت كثير مليانة في المحلات التجارية وفي النازحين وفي المباني. أنا صدقا يعني في مناطق أنا تهت عنها في غزة لما رجعت في هذا اليوم. يعني أمرق عن المكان كذا مرة، أحكي إنه وين أسير أسأل الناس وين منطقة كذا وين منطقة كذا، لأنه المعالم كانت متغيرة كثير، خصوصا في العملية الثانية كانت دمار أكبر وأوسع، لأنه كانوا يعني بيتبعوا سياسة التدمير أكثر، إنه من خلال الروبوتات المتفجرة وغير القصف الجوي.
This was a picture of people returning to the north after the ceasefire on the 10th of October 2025. There isn't a lot of details, but people were running. They didn't even wait for a car. Many wanted to go to the north to reunite with their families and to check on their homes to see if they were destroyed. This was not an easy trip, 8 to 9 kilometers to see the families and to check on their homes. After that, I myself went to Gaza City. I arrived to places in Gaza City, like my own area, Tal al-Hawa, that was completely destroyed. It was like powder, completely and totally destroyed. Honestly, I couldn't recognize some of the areas myself. I even got lost walking around. The area was totally destroyed, sometimes using strikes or using these robots that destroyed the buildings.
Thank you so much, Saher. Shukran. I think alongside the work that Vlada shared with us, which really took us into this space of drone warfare and how mechanized the conflict is. Of course, drones are intensely a part of the space in Gaza as well. But I also really appreciate, Saher, that you foregrounded other aspects of the war. And in particular, what stood out to me with the many different ways in which children are experiencing this. So there's the famine, there was the image with the aid convoy where, or the children trying to feed their buckets or get food into their buckets and kind of maybe repeatedly were unable to even get food. There was the projection, that kind of happy healing moment, followed by children bearing witness to mass burial. And the reminder to all of us that war bleeds into every aspect of life. I'll pause for a moment to let Huda translate.
ساهر بتشكرك خاصة بتقدر إن أنت وريت أوجه مختلفة الحرب، منها التأثير على الأطفال، ووصفت الصور المختلفة اللي أنت وريتها للأطفال، خاصة كمان اللحظة اللي أنت وريتها اللي كان فيها زي الاستشفاء، مش عارفة أنت سميتها إيه، أو التعافي بالنسبة للأطفال. وبتقول إنه تذكير للجميع إنه الحرب في الآخر بتأثر كتير على الأطفال، بتأثر كتير على أشخاص مختلفين.
So I want to, we still have a little bit of time, and I would love to open up to the audience if there are any questions. I'm seeing some of the comments and grateful to all the support that's coming up through everyone who's posting. I also just want to note, and it's kind of a restatement of our goals at the outset. There's so much precarity in this industry, and there's so many threats against journalism, and the threats don't just go after the journalists, they undermine press freedom. And so I think, as I said at the opening, I think it is so important to hear from the journalists on the ground because they are giving us access and insight in a way that you don't get when you read the article in the newspaper or on your phone. Huda, I'm going to let you translate that, and I'm going to encourage anyone who has questions. I think Glenn and another moderator have potentially been looking through the questions, and I'll try to catch up as well so we can ask some of them.
I'm translating for Saher in the chat, so.
Okay. Okay. Are there any questions then? Glenn, I was not able to look at it while I was doing a share screen.
Yeah, I only see one question. There's a question for Vlada, and I'm not able to spotlight her because her video isn't on. But there we go. Hi, Vlada. Let me see if I could spotlight you now. Yeah, okay. The question was, what's the outlet for your work? Where's your work being used or shown?
Oh, my book was, first of all, we publish it in our Instagram, Lipkos. We have about like 600,000 followers. And also we work with different medias. We work with Getty Images, and through them you can see our photos published in different big or small medias. So that's it.
Right. And I encourage other people to put questions in the chat if you have any questions. Saher, I just have a question for you. What part of Gaza are you in right now?
ساهر، سؤال لك، أنت حاليا في أي منطقة في غزة؟
أنا في مدينة غزة في حي تل الهوى.
I am in Gaza City in Tel El Hawa neighborhood.
Thank you.
I think just it bears noting for everyone here in the audience today, and potentially Saher and Vlada, you could speak to this. It is not simple to have a war correspondent get on a Zoom. So with Saher, sometimes it's a question of, is there Wi-Fi? Where do I need to be to have a signal for an hour and a half? And Vlada, similar, right? Like you have been in spaces where the idea of hopping on a Zoom call is not going to happen. So I guess, we do have a little time, and I thought maybe each of you could speak to some of these kind of what we take for granted. I'm sitting in New York. I take for granted that I can open my computer and be online. Like, what are some of the ways in which you have had to rethink your practice because the world shifts when it's a war zone? Vlada, I'll start with you and I'll give Huda a chance to translate for Saher.
Oh, I think I didn't understand the question.
Well,
I mean,
have there been aspects of your life that you used to completely take for granted, and able to like kind of just a work life, workflow that you've had to really radically shift?
oh, yeah, I think so. I mean, for example, it was a very difficult winter in Kiev and in other Ukrainian cities. So you started like for internet, and yes, uh, I mean, like this winter there were total blackouts in Kiev and other Ukrainian cities. Uh, in Kiev, we felt it like very strongly because like there was a very cold and winter. So it was like record low degrees, and it was difficult because like the thing that you used to like your house has to be warm, comfortable, you have to have light, and like all of this stuff that we used like usual, uh in one day you don't get it, and it lasts at least not for an hour or 2 hours, it can least for days. For example, like no water in your apartment, no warmth, and uh, like you start to realize like all of these usual things can be lost in a second. uh, I don't know, like it changed a lot, so you start to like count um, the time that there's light in your apartment, so, and when there's like no problem, no blackouts, uh like you feel yourself happy. So maybe something like this. So you start to realize ordinary things like absolutely usual.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have two similar questions for Saher.
Did Saher want to answer that question also, or you're saying there are other similar? Okay.
Yeah, okay. From Nathaniel, Saher, um, how are you able to create such stunning photographs while in such danger? What does it do to you psychologically? And then a question immediately after by Lisa Dubois. What do you do to handle the fear involved? And Hoda, you can see those questions in the chat if you want to look at them directly.
Actually, that's going to be easier to get them from the chat. Hold on. اوكي. ساهر، بيسألك نثانيال ازاي بتقدر ان انت تعمل صور قد كده يعني مؤثرة وانت في خطر نفسك؟ كيف بيأثر ده عليك يعني نفسيا وسيكولوجيا؟ وسؤال تاني من ليسا تقريبا يعني مقارب لنفس السؤال، ازاي بتقدر انت تتحكم او في الخوف اللي موجود عند التصوير ده، وايه كان اصعب يوم بالنسبة لك؟
تمام. بداية احنا مش مخيرين. يعني في بداية تغطيتي في مدينة رفح بعد ما نزحنا عليها، وصلت لمرحلة إنه أنا بديش أكمل شغل، أو صرت بدي أتفرغ لعائلتي وللمسؤوليات والمتطلبات اللي نحتاجها، بحكم إنه والدي كان مدير مستشفى ميداني بحكم عمله كطبيب، فبيقدرش يجي. يعني بكون أغلب وقته مع المرضى تاعونه. فأنا قعدت كم يوم عند أهلي، بس في غريزة أو دافع جوانا. أنا اشتغلت هذا الشغل بعد يعني عن شغف وعن حب، وأنا من قبل الحرب بصور وبحب التصوير وبحب الأجواء اللي في الميدان. فما قدرت إني أضلني متوقف. مرقنا في كتير تحديات وكتير صعوبات، من ضمنها إنه إحنا ممكن نستهدف في أي لحظة. عدم انقطاع اللي هو انقطاع الكهرباء، انقطاع الانترنت، كنا نطلع على طوابق عالية نخاطر في حالنا في مستشفى في إشي عشان ناخذ نت نقدر نبعت شغلنا أو نتابع إيش بصير. ترجمة وأرجع أكمل هدى ولا؟
تمام، أحسن. We really have no choice. When I went to Rafah, I almost decided to stop working. I didn't want to work. I just wanted to take care of my family, especially because my father, who was a doctor and a head of a field hospital, was not present. So I stayed there for a few days, but I couldn't. I had to get back. It was an instinct inside me. I chose this profession out of passion, so I couldn't stop. There are a lot of challenges. The challenge of being targeted and killed, the challenge of finding internet. Sometimes we would go up on higher floors, including in hospitals, for the internet, but by doing that, we would be also taking a big risk.
من أصعب الأيام اللي غطيتها كانت، أو أصعب المشاهد، هي مشاهد النزوح. تمام. ثواني شوي. سمعاني هدى؟ أنا مش عارف، طلع من عندي الشاشة، طلعت من عندي.
لا، سامعك.
سمعاني تمام. كان تغطية النزوح كانت من أصعب المشاهد، تحديدا يوم كنت بصور في مدينة خان يونس. كان في نزوح لأهالي الشرق مدينة خان يونس. توجهت لهذاك المكان عن طريق شارع صلاح الدين، وأنا متوجه لهذا المكان. كانوا الناس بيجوا بعكس الاتجاه اللي أنا رايح له. كانوا الناس بيحكوا لي ارجع ارجع، في الجيش بيرمي قذايف على الدوار كذا. أنا قلت للسواق لا، استمر امشي، إنه بدنا نشوف إيش بصير، بدي أوثق هذا الحدث. وصلت لهذاك المكان، كان بالفعل صوت إطلاق نار كثيف وقذايف. كنت لابس سترة الصحافة الخاصة فيها، كانت جدا ثقيلة. آه، وصلت، كان مشهد كثير صعب. الناس يعني كان الجيش معطيهم إخلاء لمناطق شرق خان يونس، وبعدها بوقت قصير اقتحم هاي المناطق، فالناس طلعت تحت تهديد النار. ما أخذت إشي معها. أنا شفت الصغار النسوان طالعين في ثوب الصلاة. أكيد فهمان يا هدى. آه، في إشي، يعني في ناس حافية ما لبست إشي في رجليها، في ناس ما لحقت تاخذ أغراضها. فأنا كنت أصور وأشرد في نفس الوقت. يعني أنا كنت قريب جدا من موقع الحدث. كنا في دائرة الخطر. فكنت في هذاك اليوم أنا بصور وبجري مع الناس اللي كانت تشرد من هذا القصف. فكان هذا اليوم بالنسبة لي أصعب يوم يمكن أنا غطيت فيه. غير في تفاصيل كتير عن جد، يعني لو بدي اقعد استذكر احداث بدي كتير وقت، انه في تسارع بالاحداث بخلينا نقعد فتره طويله نتذكر. يمكن في شغلات انا عشتها بدي وقت لما اتذكرها او ارجع اتذكر تفاصيلها. فكان هذا اليوم تحديدا اصوات الرصاص كنا نسمعها بشكل واضح، تسفيرة الطلق مرق من جنبينا. ف هذاك اليوم كنا يعني احنا اقرب من انه نكون مصابين او نفقد حياتنا خلال هذا اليوم.
Um, One of the most difficult days, the most difficult scenes was covering the displacement of people. One day in particular in Khan Yunis, people in east of Khan Yunis were ordered to evacuate through Salah ad-Din Street. So I was walking on Salah ad-Din Street and people were walking in the other direction and they kept telling me, you have to go back, you have to go back. It's dangerous, the army is attacking. But I insisted, I told the driver, keep going, because I wanted to see what was going on. And it was true. When I reached there, there were a lot of attacks and it was very dangerous. I was wearing my vest, which was very heavy. The army stormed the area that they had asked the people to evacuate from, and people didn't have time to carry their stuff. So some people were barefoot. Some women were wearing the thing that they wear when they pray, and they were just like going out with that. And I was very close to the scene. It was very dangerous. So I was with the people while at the same taking the photos. So I would take photos and run, take photos and run. There are a lot of details. I need time to remember all of these details, but I remember hearing the bullets. I remember they were passing next to me. I was very close to getting injured or even to getting killed on that day.
من ضمن
I heard.
التحديات. اوكي تمام.
Go ahead.
بس من ضمن التحديات الأخيرة اللي بدي أحكيها آه، كانت في المعدات. يعني أنا تعرضت لموقف فقدت كاميرا من الكاميرات اللي كانت معي، فاضطريت إني أستأنف شغلي بكاميرا واحدة، أقعد أبدل عدسات بحكم شغلي كمصور صحفي. بتطلب مني أكون سريع في التقاط الصور، فأنا كنت أشتغل على كاميرا واحدة لفترة طويلة شوي. فهذه كان من التحديات الصعبة اللي أنا واجهتها في التغطية. كمان كان نقص الغذاء. في وقت من الأوقات كنا نطلع نمشي مسافات كبيرة 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 جدا، يعني نقعد نتحرك من بين محافظة لمحافظة مشي في وضع إحنا في عندنا نقص في الغذاء كان يكون، فصعوبة المواصلات برضه يعني في ظل الأجواء الممطرة أو في المنخفضات الجوية. إحنا جينا في وقت نمنا في خيمة، فكان من ضمن التحديات إنه إحنا كنا نايمين نصحى نلاقي حالنا عايمين في المية. معداتنا معرضة إنه تكون يعني الضمأ يعني تلفت من الاشياء هاي. ففي كتير تحديات، بس انا بستذكر الاهم منها في خلال هذه الفتره.
There are lots of challenges when it comes to the tools. For example, I lost one of my cameras, so I had to use only one camera and to keep changing lenses. And as a photojournalist, I have to work very fast. So this was a challenge. The lack of food was a big challenge. We had to move and go to large distances, and to do that without having food. There was also a difficulty in transportation, and then also the rain and the storms. We lived in tents, and you would wake up and you find yourself completely wet, and you find yourselves drenched with water. So there were lots of challenges, but these are some of the challenges that I recall.
I
Thank you
just,
for that.
I know Glenn, I'll just make a quick comment. I know we're very close to at time. And I'm especially mindful that for Vlada and Saher, it's very late. And at least one person has a little baby who has to go to bed. We didn't get through all the questions, and I'm sorry. I did see a number of comments, questions about kind of the psychological tolls and trauma. And while we don't have the time to talk through all of that now, I am grateful to all of you who are thinking about that, because I think sometimes we kind of look at the pictures and again sort of forget that someone is standing right there creating the images, and the camera isn't a shield, and it's not a kind of magic device that protects you from bearing witness to suffering and death. And for those who said, how can we continue to support your work? I did drop the Instagram handles into the chat. And again, that could have been a full discussion. But I think showing up here and following the work of these journalists and their colleagues and supporting journalism and spaces like SDN that are supporting journalists. To me, that's really important. So I want to just thank Vlada and Saher very, very, very much for giving us your time and for doing the work that you do. Of course, a thank you to Huda for translating, because I think it is so important to hear from the journalist themselves. And we had that ability today with both of you, Saher and Vlada. And Glenn, I'll just round out with my thank you to you for doing this panel. I think, as we said at the opening, it's a really tough topic and a really important topic. So thank you to everyone for showing up and listening and learning.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you, Saher, Vlada, and Hoda. And I want to thank all of you for being here today. It's been a difficult topic, but I think both of them have covered it extremely well in their presentations. So this is being recorded, and we'll have this available on YouTube. We'll email everybody who's registered for the program to let you know when it's available, as well as any follow-up information that we may have at that point. All right. Thank you, everybody. Best wishes. Hope to stay in touch.
And be safe.